They say black boys become men at 18. I became one at 18 when I found my father's second phone hidden in the couch cushions and discovered he had been living 3 separate lives with 3 different families for over a decade. My name is Rashad Taylor, and this is the story of how I exposed my father's web of lies with a single group text message that destroyed 3 families in one night. Growing up, I thought I had the perfect father. David Taylor was 45 years old, worked as a regional sales manager for a pharmaceutical company, and seemed to have it all figured out. He made good money, drove a nice car, always dressed sharp, and was respected in our community. Everyone at church called him Brother David and asked him for advice about careers and family matters. "Your daddy is a good man," people would tell me constantly. "You are blessed to have a father who provides for his family and sets a strong example." I believed them. I thought I was lucky to have a dad who was present and involved, unlike so many of my friends whose fathers were absent, incarcerated, or just not interested in being parents. But I should have noticed the signs earlier. I should have questioned the patterns that did not quite make sense. Daddy worked Monday through Friday at his regular job, or at least that is what he told us. But he was only home for dinner on Mondays and Wednesdays. Tuesdays and Thursdays, he claimed he had late meetings with clients that kept him away until after we went to bed. Fridays, he said he had to drive to visit accounts in neighboring cities and would not be home until late. Weekends were even stranger. Saturday mornings, Daddy would leave early claiming he had to play golf with important clients. He would be gone most of the day and come back around dinner time. Sundays, we would go to church as a family, but then Daddy would disappear for several hours in the afternoon, saying he was visiting sick members of the congregation or attending church board meetings. "Your father works so hard for this family," Mama would say whenever I complained about not seeing him enough. "Be grateful that he is out there providing for us instead of sitting on the couch watching television." I was grateful. I knew we had a nice house, good food, new clothes, and money for school activities because Daddy worked hard. I just wished he was home more often. The strange thing was that despite supposedly working all these hours, Daddy never seemed tired or stressed. He was always in a good mood when he was home, always had energy to joke around and watch sports with me, never complained about his demanding schedule. Looking back now, I realize he was happy because he was not actually working during all those hours he claimed to be at the office or with clients. He was maintaining separate families that each believed they were his only family. The discovery that changed everything happened on a Tuesday evening in March, 2 weeks after my 18th birthday. Daddy had left for one of his supposed late client meetings, and I was home alone because Mama had gone to her book club meeting. I was sitting on the couch watching television when I felt something hard under the cushion. I reached down and pulled out an iPhone. Not Daddy's regular iPhone that I had seen him use countless times, but a different one with a red case instead of his usual black case. At first, I thought maybe he had bought a new phone and forgotten his old one in the couch. But when I turned it on, I saw that it was not locked and the home screen showed recent text messages from contacts saved as Michelle, Crystal, and Babe. My first thought was that Daddy was having an affair. It would explain his frequent absences and the secret phone. But what I found when I started reading the messages was so much worse than a simple affair. The messages from Michelle said things like, "David, when are you coming home? The boys miss their daddy. And don't forget you promised to take us to the movies this weekend." The messages from Crystal said things like, "Baby, I need you to stop by the house tonight. The baby has been crying all day and I need a break. And when are you going to tell your wife about us? I am tired of being your secret." The messages from Babe, which I assumed was referring to my mama, said things like, "David, please pick up milk on your way home. And Rashad has a basketball game Thursday night. Don't forget." I sat there staring at that phone, my hands shaking as the reality of what I was seeing started to sink in. My father was not just having an affair. He had multiple families, children with other women, entire secret lives that existed parallel to the life we thought we knew. I spent the next hour going through every message, every photo, every contact in that phone. What I discovered was a meticulously organized system of lies and deception that had been operating for years. Michelle was a woman who lived about 40 minutes away in the next city over. According to the messages and photos, Daddy had been in a relationship with her for at least 12 years. They had 2 sons together, David Jr., who was 11, and Marcus, who was 9. The messages indicated that Daddy visited them every Tuesday and Thursday evening, the nights he claimed to have late client meetings. Crystal lived in a suburb about an hour away. She and Daddy had been together for at least 8 years and had a 6-year-old daughter named Destiny. The messages showed that Daddy spent most Saturdays with them, the days he claimed to be playing golf with clients. And then there was Mama, my mama, who lived with us in the house I grew up in, who had been married to Daddy for 20 years, who had no idea she was sharing her husband with 2 other women and their children. I took screenshots of everything: text messages, photos of Daddy with the other women and their children, calendar entries showing his schedule rotating between the 3 families, bank statements showing money being sent to Michelle and Crystal. Everything. Then I sat there in the dark living room, holding that phone and trying to figure out what to do with this information. Part of me wanted to pretend I had never found the phone, to put it back in the couch and forget what I had seen. Ignorance had been blissful for 18 years. Why ruin that now? But I kept thinking about those text messages from Michelle and Crystal. These were not just random women Daddy was cheating with. These were women who believed they were in committed relationships with him. These were children who called him Daddy and waited for him to come home. And these were families who were living lies without knowing it, just like Mama and I were living a lie without knowing it. I also thought about all the times Mama had defended Daddy's absences, all the times she had told me to be grateful for a father who worked so hard. What would she say when she found out his hard work was actually time spent with other families? Around 10 p.m., Mama came home from her book club meeting. I quickly hid the secret phone in my backpack before she could see it. "Hey, baby," she said, kissing my forehead. "Where is your daddy?" "He is at one of his late meetings. That man works too hard. I keep telling him he needs to take better care of himself." I felt sick listening to her make excuses for him, knowing what I knew about where he really was and what he was really doing. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling and thinking about what I should do. I could confront Daddy directly and give him a chance to explain or come clean. But what explanation could possibly justify maintaining 3 separate families for over a decade? I could tell Mama privately and let her decide how to handle it. But that felt like putting all the burden on her to deal with Daddy's lies while the other women remained in the dark. Or I could expose everything to everyone at the same time and let all 3 families know the truth simultaneously. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that the third option was the only fair one. Michelle, Crystal, and Mama all deserved to know the truth. And they all deserved to know it at the same time, so none of them could claim they were the real wife who had been wronged worse than the others. Over the next few days, I copied all the evidence from Daddy's secret phone onto my laptop. I organized the screenshots into folders, one for Michelle, one for Crystal, one for Mama. Each folder contained proof of Daddy's relationship with the other women and their children. I also used the secret phone to get contact information for Michelle and Crystal. I found their phone numbers, email addresses, and even their social media profiles. What I learned from researching these women made the situation even more heartbreaking. Michelle was a nurse who worked night shifts at a hospital. Based on her Facebook posts, she seemed to believe that Daddy was a divorced man who was slowly building a future with her and her sons. Crystal was a teacher who posted frequently about being a single mother and being grateful for her wonderful boyfriend David, who helped her raise her daughter. She had posted photos of the 3 of them at parks, restaurants, and her daughter's school events. All the normal activities of a family building a life together. And then there was Mama, who posted about being blessed with a hard-working husband who provided for their family despite his demanding career. She had posted anniversary photos, birthday celebration pictures, and proud parent moments from my basketball games and school achievements. 3 women, all being lied to by the same man, all believing they were in exclusive relationships with someone who loved them. 3 sets of children growing up thinking their father was a good man who just had to work a lot. The night I decided to expose everything was a Friday evening. Daddy had just left to supposedly visit accounts in a neighboring city, which I now knew meant he was probably going to spend time with Crystal and their daughter. I sat at my laptop with my heart pounding and my hands shaking. What I was about to do would destroy multiple families, hurt innocent children, and permanently change the lives of everyone involved. But living in lies was worse than facing painful truths. At least that is what I told myself as I composed the message. I created a group text message with 3 recipients, Mama, Michelle, and Crystal. I attached the folders of screenshots I had organized, making sure each woman could see the evidence of Daddy's relationships with the others. Then I wrote the message that would change everything. My name is Rashad Taylor. I am 18 years old, and David Taylor is my father. 2 weeks ago, I found his second phone and discovered that he has been living 3 separate lives with 3 different families. I am including screenshots of text messages, photos, bank records, and other evidence proving that David has been in simultaneous relationships with 3 women: my mother Gloria Taylor, Michelle Washington, and Crystal Johnson. He has children with all 3 of you. My mother believes they have been exclusively married for 20 years. Michelle, based on your messages, you believe David is divorced and building a future with you and your sons. Crystal, you believe David is your committed boyfriend and father figure to your daughter. All 3 of you deserve to know the truth. I am sorry to tell you this way, but I could not let these lies continue. David Taylor is not the man any of you think he is. I stared at that message for a long time before hitting send. Once I sent it, there would be no taking it back. Lives would be shattered. Families would be destroyed. Children would learn that their father was a liar. But they would also be free from the lies. They would know the truth. And truth, no matter how painful, was better than living in deception. I hit send. For a few minutes, nothing happened. Then my phone started buzzing with incoming messages. The first response came from Mama. Rashad, what is this? What are you talking about? Then Michelle. Who is this? What kind of sick joke is this? Then Crystal. I do not understand. Who are these other women? I replied to all 3 of them in the group text. This is not a joke. Look at the screenshots. David has been lying to all of you for years. I am his son with Gloria. Michelle, you have 2 sons with him. Crystal, you have a daughter with him. We are all family, whether David wanted us to know about each other or not. Over the next hour, the group text exploded with messages as the 3 women started looking through the evidence and realizing the truth. Mama, I am looking at pictures of David with other children. This cannot be real. Michelle, he told me he was divorced. He said his ex-wife had custody of his son and he only saw him occasionally. He lied. Crystal, we have been together for 8 years. He comes to my daughter's school events. He calls her his princess. How could he be married to someone else? The messages went back and forth as the 3 women compared notes and started to see the full picture of Daddy's deception. They realized that his work schedule was actually a carefully orchestrated rotation between 3 families. Tuesdays and Thursdays with Michelle. Saturdays with Crystal. The rest of the time with Mama and me, except when he could make up other excuses to visit the other families. They also started comparing financial information. It turned out that Daddy had been telling each woman different stories about his income and expenses. He told Mama that his salary was $80,000 a year. He told Michelle it was $60,000. He told Crystal it was $70,000. In reality, his actual salary was about $120,000, and he had been carefully distributing money between the 3 households while keeping each woman in the dark about the others. He told me he could not afford to take us on vacation because money was tight, Crystal wrote. But these bank statements show he spent $5,000 taking Gloria on a cruise last year. He said he could not help with my car payment because he had to pay off debts from his divorce, Michelle wrote. But there was no divorce because he was still married. He told me he was working hard to save for Rashad's college fund, Mama wrote. But he was actually supporting 2 other families I did not know about. As I watched these 3 women piece together the truth, I felt a mixture of emotions. Relief that the lies were finally exposed. Guilt that I was the one who had caused so much pain. Fear about what would happen when Daddy found out what I had done. Around 11 p.m., Daddy's regular phone started ringing. I could see from my phone that Mama was calling him. Then Michelle was calling. Then Crystal. He was probably very confused about why all 3 of his women were suddenly trying to reach him at the same time. About 30 minutes later, I heard Daddy's car pull into the driveway. He came into the house looking confused and worried. "Gloria, what is going on?" he called out. "You called me 10 times. Is everything okay?" Mama came out of their bedroom holding her phone. Her face was streaked with tears, and her hands were shaking. "Is it true, David? Do you have children with other women?" I watched Daddy's face go through several expressions in rapid succession. Confusion, shock, fear, and then calculation as he tried to figure out how to lie his way out of this situation. "Gloria, baby, I do not know what you are talking about. Do not lie to me anymore," Mama shouted. "I have seen the messages. I have seen the pictures. I have seen the bank statements. I know about Michelle and her sons. I know about Crystal and her daughter. I know everything." Daddy looked at me standing in the hallway. "Rashad, what did you do?" "I found your second phone. I saw the messages. I told everyone the truth. You had no right. I had every right. Those women deserved to know they were being lied to. Their children deserved to know their father was living a double life. Mama deserved to know she was sharing her husband with 2 other families. You do not understand how complicated this situation is." "Complicated? You mean how complicated it is to maintain 3 separate families and lie to all of them for over a decade? You are right, that does sound complicated." Mama sank down onto the couch, sobbing. "How could you do this, David? 20 years of marriage, and I never knew I was sharing you with other women." "Gloria, I can explain." "Explain what?" "Explain how you were at Michelle's house every Tuesday and Thursday. Explain how you spent Saturdays with Crystal instead of playing golf. Explain how you have 5 children instead of the one I thought you had." Daddy looked trapped, cornered, exposed in a way he had never been before. For over a decade, he had successfully juggled 3 families by keeping them separated and in the dark about each other. But now the walls between his different lives had come crashing down, and he had nowhere to hide. "I love all of you," he said weakly. "I did not want to hurt anyone." "You did not want to hurt anyone?" Mama said incredulously. "David, you have 3 women who believed they were in committed relationships with you. You have 5 children who believed you were their devoted father. And you think you did not want to hurt anyone." My phone buzzed with new messages in the group text. Michelle and Crystal were both saying they were done with Daddy and never wanted to see him again. They were asking Mama if she wanted to meet in person to talk about what happened and figure out next steps. "Mama," I said, showing her my phone, "Michelle and Crystal want to meet with you. I cannot do that right now. I cannot face them. You do not have to face them alone. I will go with you." Daddy looked at me with an expression I had never seen before, a mixture of hatred, betrayal, and fear. "This is your fault," he said. "You destroyed our family." "No, Daddy. You destroyed 3 families when you decided to lie to everyone who trusted you. I just made sure everyone knew the truth." That night, Daddy packed a bag and left. He did not say where he was going, but based on the group text, none of his 3 women wanted him in their homes. Over the next few days, the full extent of Daddy's deception became clear as Mama, Michelle, and Crystal compared notes and pieced together his schedule and finances. For 12 years, Daddy had been visiting Michelle and her sons every Tuesday and Thursday evening, telling her he had to work late on other nights and weekends. He contributed to their rent and expenses, but told Michelle he could not afford to do more because of debts from his supposed divorce. For 8 years, he had been spending most Saturdays with Crystal and her daughter, telling her he had to work during the week and needed Sunday mornings for church with his son from his previous marriage. He paid some of Crystal's bills and bought gifts for her daughter, but told her money was tight because he was still paying off his ex-wife's legal fees. And for 20 years, he had been living with Mama and me Monday through Friday and most Sundays, telling Mama he worked long hours to provide for us and traveled frequently for work. The financial records showed that Daddy had been living well beyond what any one household would have indicated. His credit cards had charges from restaurants, hotels, and stores across 3 different cities. He had separate bank accounts for each relationship, carefully transferring money to avoid detection. It was a masterclass in deception, executed with the precision of someone who had been lying professionally for years. A week after I sent the group text, Mama, Michelle, and Crystal agreed to meet in person at a neutral location, a coffee shop halfway between the 3 cities where they lived. I went with Mama for moral support. Walking into that coffee shop and seeing the 3 women together was surreal. They all looked exhausted, heartbroken, and angry. They all had pictures of their children on their phones, and they all had been betrayed by the same man. "I am Gloria," Mama said, introducing herself to the other women. "I am the one who is legally married to David. I am Michelle. I have 2 sons with David, DJ, and Marcus. I am Crystal. I have a daughter with David, Destiny." They sat down at a corner table while I got coffee for everyone. When I came back, they were already deep in conversation about their relationships with Daddy. "I met David at a medical conference 12 years ago," Michelle said. "He told me he was recently divorced and was looking for a fresh start. We started dating, and within 6 months I was pregnant with DJ. He seemed like the perfect man, successful, attentive, great with kids. He told me he was a widower," Crystal said. "Said his wife died in a car accident, and he had a teenage son who was still angry about losing his mother. That explained why I never met his son or went to his house. He never told me anything about other relationships because I thought I was his only relationship," Mama said. "We have been married for 20 years. I knew he traveled for work and had demanding hours, but I never suspected he was living separate lives." As the 3 women talked, I watched them gradually shift from seeing each other as rivals to recognizing each other as fellow victims of Daddy's lies. "How did you manage to keep this going for so long?" Michelle asked, directing the question at no one in particular. "He must have had everything scheduled down to the minute," Crystal said. "Every Tuesday and Thursday with you, Saturdays with me, the rest of the time with Gloria. He was like a surgeon operating on 3 patients at once. And none of us ever got suspicious enough to investigate," Mama said. "We all trusted him. We all believed his explanations for why he could not be around more." They talked for hours that afternoon, sharing stories about their relationships with Daddy and comparing the lies he had told each of them. By the end, they had exchanged phone numbers and agreed to stay in touch as they figured out the legal and financial implications of the situation. "What are you going to do?" Crystal asked Mama. "File for divorce, I guess. I cannot stay married to someone who has been lying to me for 20 years. I am talking to a lawyer about child support," Michelle said. "David has 2 sons he needs to support, whether he wants to acknowledge them publicly or not." "Same here," Crystal said. "Destiny deserves to have her father provide for her financially, even if he cannot be trusted to be in her life emotionally." As we left the coffee shop that day, Mama turned to me. "Rashad, I need to ask you something." "What, Mama? Do you regret telling us the truth? Do you wish you had just put that phone back and let us keep living in ignorance?" I thought about her question carefully before answering. "No, Mama. I do not regret it. Living in lies is not really living. At least now you know the truth and can make informed decisions about your life. But you destroyed 3 families. Daddy destroyed 3 families when he decided to build them on lies. I just made sure everyone knew what was really happening. The months following my revelation were difficult for everyone involved. Mama filed for divorce and demanded full financial disclosure of Daddy's assets and income. Michelle and Crystal both filed for child support and paternity verification. Daddy was forced to take DNA tests to establish legal paternity for all 5 of his children. The community's reaction to the scandal was mixed. Some people were sympathetic to Mama, Michelle, and Crystal as victims of Daddy's deception. Others blamed the women for not figuring out earlier that they were sharing a man. How could Gloria not know her husband had whole other families? I heard one church member say, "She must have been willfully blind." But most people blamed Daddy for creating the situation in the first place. "David Taylor is a disgrace," Pastor Williams said from the pulpit one Sunday. "He stood in this church and pretended to be a man of God while living in sin and deception. He has brought shame on himself and pain to innocent women and children." Daddy tried to rebuild relationships with all 3 families, but none of the women wanted anything to do with him beyond the required legal and financial arrangements. He ended up moving to another state entirely, starting over somewhere that his reputation was not permanently damaged. The most interesting development was the relationship that formed between Mama, Michelle, and Crystal. Despite the awkwardness of the situation, they became friends who supported each other through the divorce and child support proceedings. "We have been through something that most people cannot understand," Mama told me. "We all loved the same man, we all believed his lies, and we all had to rebuild our lives after the truth came out. That creates a bond." They also arranged for the 5 children to meet each other. I met my half-brothers DJ and Marcus, and my half-sister Destiny. It was strange realizing that I had siblings I never knew about, that Daddy had been going to their school events and birthday parties, while I thought I was his only child. "Do you think Daddy ever loved any of us?" DJ asked me during one of our meetings. He was 11 years old and struggling to understand why his father had lied to him his entire life. "I think Daddy loved the idea of being important and needed by multiple people," I said. "But I do not think he understood what real love means. Real love does not involve lying to people for years." The legal proceedings took almost a year to resolve. In the end, Mama was awarded half of Daddy's assets in the divorce, plus significant alimony payments. Michelle and Crystal each received substantial child support payments that were calculated based on Daddy's actual income rather than the lies he had told them about his finances. Daddy also lost his job when his employer found out about the scandal. Apparently, some of his deception had involved using company resources and falsifying expense reports to fund his multiple households. The pharmaceutical company fired him and considered pressing charges, though they ultimately decided the public scandal was punishment enough. Throughout all of this, I struggled with my own emotions about what I had done. I had exposed Daddy's lies and helped 3 women escape from relationships built on deception. But I had also been the catalyst for destroying multiple families and causing pain to innocent children. "Do you think I did the right thing?" I asked Mama one evening as we sat together going through old photo albums. "Yes, baby. You did the right thing. It was painful and it was hard, but living in lies would have been worse in the long run." But what about DJ, Marcus, and Destiny? They did not ask to have their worlds turned upside down. No, they did not. But they also did not ask to have a father who lied to them their entire lives. You gave them the gift of truth, even though the truth was painful. A year after I sent that group text, I started college at the State University. I was studying communications and thinking about a career in journalism or counseling, fields where helping people understand and deal with difficult truths was important. Mama had started dating again, taking things slowly and being more careful about trusting people. Michelle had gone back to school to get her nursing degree advanced. Crystal had gotten a promotion at her school and was thriving as a single mother who no longer had to coordinate her life around a man who was barely present. And Daddy was living somewhere in Texas, working at a smaller pharmaceutical company for less money, and paying large portions of his income in alimony and child support to the 3 families he had betrayed. The 5 siblings, me, DJ, Marcus, Destiny, had formed our own relationship independent of our parents. We texted regularly, got together every few months, and supported each other as we dealt with the legacy of having a father who had built his life on lies. Rashad, Marcus said to me during one of our meetings, I want to thank you for what you did. For destroying your family, for giving us the truth. I was 9 years old when you sent that group text. I am 11 now, and I have spent 2 years learning what it means to be lied to by someone you trust. That is a hard lesson, but it is an important one. Now I know that I will never be like Dad. I will never lie to people I love. That conversation helped me make peace with the choice I had made. Yes, I had caused pain. Yes, I had destroyed the illusion of happy families. But I had also given people the information they needed to make real choices about their lives based on truth rather than lies. The most profound lesson I learned from the experience was that secrets always have a cost. Daddy thought he was protecting his 3 families by keeping them separated and in the dark about each other. But in reality, he was denying all of us the chance to have authentic relationships based on truth. When the secrets finally came out, the pain was intense but temporary. The healing that followed was slower, but more meaningful than any happiness we had experienced while living in lies. Today, I am 21 years old and working as a peer counselor at my university, helping other students deal with family problems and difficult revelations. I share my story when appropriate, and I help people understand that exposing lies is not the same as causing pain. The person who told the lies is the one who caused the pain. My father lived 3 separate lives for over a decade. I tell students who are struggling with whether to reveal difficult truths about their families. He lied to everyone who loved him, and he thought he was protecting us by keeping us separated. But he was not protecting us. He was protecting himself from consequences. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for people is tell them the truth, even when the truth is painful. Mama, Michelle, and Crystal have all moved on with their lives. They occasionally get together with all 5 kids for awkward but healing family gatherings where we acknowledge the strange reality of being connected through betrayal. Daddy reaches out occasionally, trying to rebuild relationships with his children, but his efforts are half-hearted and self-serving. He wants forgiveness without accountability, relationship without honesty. None of us are interested in that kind of reconciliation. Your father is not a bad man, Mama told me recently. He is a weak man who made selfish choices and hurt a lot of people. That is different from being deliberately evil. Does that distinction matter? It matters because it helps me understand what happened without hating him. I do not hate your father. I just do not trust him or respect him anymore. That seemed like a healthy place to land after everything that had happened. The group text I sent that night destroyed 3 families in the sense that it destroyed the lies those families were built on. But it also created opportunities for more authentic relationships based on truth rather than deception. DJ, Marcus, Destiny, and I are siblings who never would have known each other if I had not found that secret phone. Mama, Michelle, and Crystal are friends who support each other through the challenges of single parenthood and rebuilding after betrayal. And I became a man who understands that truth-telling is not always kind in the moment, but it is always more loving in the long run than allowing people to live in lies. The night I sent that group text, I was 18 years old and terrified of the consequences of my actions. I knew I was about to hurt people I loved and destroy relationships that seemed stable and secure. But I also knew that those relationships were built on lies, and that living in lies was a form of slow death that denied everyone involved the chance to live authentically. 3 years later, I stand by that choice. I would make it again tomorrow, because some things are worth fighting for, even when fighting means destroying what seems safe and comfortable. Truth is worth fighting for. Authentic relationships are worth fighting for. The right of people to make informed choices about their lives is worth fighting for. And sometimes, being a man means having the courage to send a group text that destroys everything people believed was true, because you know that truth is more important than comfort. There are more stories like mine, guys who refused to stay silent, who broke the cycle instead of repeating it. 2 of them are right here on your screen. Click the one that speaks to your own fight. And if you want to walk with a community that knows sometimes saving your family means stopping them, tap the bell. I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.